Alright. Today's November 13th, and pretty frosty one this morning. It was a little over 30 degrees when I left the truck. Way back in here on a piece of public ground. Same spot I was last Saturday, and had a good encounter with a big 8-point. Seems like an older deer, pretty heavy body on him. Not a real high scoring deer, but just thick rack, wide, just cool deer. Back in the thick junk, hoping that a doe will be up in here trying to bed, and then the bucks will be in through here. We've been seeing pretty decent amount of bucks in here. I actually saw 2 deer that night, Saturday night. Another 10-point. I think it's a younger deer, but still pretty solid deer. But brought a lunch in here. Gonna try to stick it out all day. Hopefully we don't have to. Back in the same tree I came into last night. It was uneventful last night, but I was able to get in here obviously and get the stand set up in here, so I didn't have to carry any of that stuff in this morning. Talked about it before. Kind of tucked in the bottom between 2 ridges, and with this real low wind, pretty much just lets the thermals take my scent, either right towards the bottom of the tree, or as soon as the sun comes up over the ridge, starts to heat up a little bit, and it just lifts everything right up into the air. So that's good, because there's thick bedding like back to the west and the east. So with that west wind, if it blows it back in there, but with those thermals, it sucks it up first, and then if the wind catches it up there, it's going to blow it so far away from me. I don't really worry about it too much. Obviously hoping for some good action today. Yesterday on one of the other cameras at 4:45, one of the big bucks was pretty much up over top of this ridge behind me here, a couple hundred yards away. It's kind of hard to see on the thumbnail that the Cutty Link sends, but I think it's that big 8-point with the little crab claws. Jared's in here this morning also. He's up this ravine from me, in a spot that he was in. Oh dear. Buck, big buck, big buck, big buck, big buck. Big buck. so frustrated. I've been sitting here for the last 40 minutes. Just like, I don't know, kicking myself. Staring at that spot where he was standing. He came in at 22 yards. But I don't think he smelled me. He obviously saw something up here in the tree, me. But caught some movement. I mean, he had his head down, he was just cruising. And I'd try to get that big camera turned around. He was never looking up this way until he come around that bush. Like I said, I don't think he smelled right where I walked in because he stood there for a while and then ran off. And ended up running back right on the trail I walked in on and then dipped into this thick stuff back to my left. I mean, that's what I was just talking about. That's what he was doing. He come out of that thick bottom, was cutting across the mouth of this ravine and was cutting into this other thick stuff here behind me. Just looking for does. But that was the buck I was just talking about too. It's a big, wide 8-point. It's got little crab claws out at the end of his main beams, just an 8-point. But just giant bodied deer. I don't know if he would have kept going out this way. I mean, he's coming on the wrong side of the tree, like my weak side. I had my bow hanging on the right side. I had my hand on my bow and the other hand working the camera. So I still needed to get my bow over my tether and all that, but I thought this was a pretty good tree as far as being concealed. There's not a whole lot of options around here. And then when you have one come in like that, I think it ended up being like a half an hour after legal shooting light. It was just after 7 o'clock. And he walks in and pretty much looks right up in the tree at you. Well, it's about 20 to 10 right now. And about, I don't know, right around 9 o'clock, a little after 9 o'clock, had a big buck come in on me. He actually stayed on the other side of the ditch. Actually went right underneath the stand that I hunted on Saturday. Crab Claw 8 was over on this side. Came right up through here where I'm set. So I was like, alright, I gotta move over here. That must be where they run. No. I'm sitting here, look behind me on the opposite hillside. And there he is. We call him Dog Pen Pete. And big buck, got a bunch of brow tines on him. He's walking the hillside and he runs right underneath the stand, or underneath the tree that I was in last Saturday. He literally stood over there for probably at least 5 minutes underneath that tree. He did end up crossing. He came on this side and I thought he was going to come this way, but he got up in this thick stuff just above the grass patch and I lost him, so I don't know where he went, but that was half hour, 40 minutes ago, so he's up in there somewhere. And then heard from Ian, he's about 300 yards below me. He doesn't have any cell service, but we brought walkie-talkies in here this morning so we can talk to each other every once in a while. We turned them on at 9 o'clock and he saw the crab claw 8 that I had an encounter with on Saturday. He had him at 22 yards and he got busted, I guess trying to draw or something, so he said it went up and got up into the thick stuff kind of behind where the camera is here. So he's in here as well. So we got 2 shooters in this block of timber here. We have about 2 hours left of the day. And just to give you an update, I just had that little spike buck come through. He came from the south, come up right behind the tree pretty much, about 30 yards. And I hit a trail, went up on the other side, and he's up there feeding. But that's the first deer that I've seen since this morning. But I've been getting a hold of Jared every hour on the walkie-talkie. And the Cuddy Link cameras have been picking up deer. At about 10 o'clock, the buck that I saw this morning was up there on a camera about 600 yards away, straight line, up over top of this ridge and almost heading down the other side. but he was actually coming from the north, which was even further away. So he skirted up through this stuff and he was covering some ground. And then, I think almost at 2 o'clock, there was another one of those 10 points. It's got smaller G2s, or G4s. That gives him his 9th and 10th point, but Jared said he was moving down, or heading this way too, so the buck that Jared saw, we have no idea where it went. It can go anywhere when it got in the thick stuff, but as far as we know, there might be 2 bucks, possibly 3, that are somewhere on this ridge behind me. So if we're going to see some evening movement, it should be happening pretty soon here, so I'll keep hoping that a big one walks by and doesn't pick me off in the tree, and I can get an arrow through him. I just looked back at the video, and what you guys didn't get to see was that big 8 point from this morning come down off this ridge behind me, and there's 2 scrapes that are right up this valley. I thought I heard a deer come down off there, and then I looked up by that scrape because it was the last spot I heard what sounded like something up there, and I could see flashes. Sure enough, I could see a deer, and then it put its head down. I could see pretty good antlers. And as soon as it stepped out, I could tell it was a big buck from this morning. It came out of this opening and it was pretty much broadside. And I didn't want to, I was already drawn back and anchored and everything. I didn't want to wait anymore. Although I think I just turned the camera back that way around the tree, and I wasn't sure if he was in the frame or not because the camera was literally on the other side of the tree. But it's hard when you're by yourself, especially after I've been busted. But while by him this morning out of the same tree, but I hit him, it zipped right through him. Lighted Knox over there
stuck in the ground. He jumped up on the other side and stopped, and I got on him with this camera. Thought I was going to see him crash over, and he was all hunched up. Stood there for the longest time, and he started walking out, and then he laid down. But then he got right back up, started walking again, and he turned around, and then I could tell he was struggling, and I'm pretty sure he's down over there, pretty much the same spot where he ran up over the hill. Start packing his stuff up and see at the bottom of the tree. Alright, it's been about an hour and 45 minutes. Got the whole crew with us. We all took our stuff out of the trees, came back in here. Got the area right here. It was 20 yards from the tree. I hadn't looked at the area yet, but it blew right through him. He ran up on this little flat, maybe 40 yards up there, and I'm pretty sure he's down there, but kind of hard to tell in these I can feel the blood on it, but he ran over there and he didn't fall right down, so I don't know if he was quartering towards me a little bit or what the deal was, but he laid down right away, and then he got up and went over there, and he couldn't really go too well. Spun back around. Like I said, I heard him up there kind of thrashing around, and I lost him in the binoculars, but I didn't hear him for probably 10 or 15 minutes, and then packed all my stuff up and went out. So probably just trying to find a hole here, get up on that flat, and he should be right there. Alright, so we just got up here, like I said, on this, right up on this little shelf. I could see him run up there, got on blood right away. Jared looped around and he come back by us, and I told him, I said, you probably walked right by him, and he's laying right there, so we'll go check him out. Here he is. As you saw when he got up here, he was already pretty stiff, so it was almost 2 hours ago. So like I said, he went up here, and last time I heard him, he died. That's the exit, so I'm not sure actually why he didn't fall down right when he got up here. I mean, he's a bigger deer, so maybe take a little bit, but it's pretty crazy. I saw this one this morning, and then 10 hours later he came back down. I stayed up in the tree all day, came down off the hill, and like I said, in the tree there's some scrapes up there. I thought I heard a deer come down, and I could see some white flashing over there, and got the binoculars out, and I could see there was a deer. And then once he started coming my way, I could see the antlers, and then pretty quickly could see how wide it was, and could tell it was that buck from this morning. So he made some big loops today, and then I think he kind of just stayed up on that ridge this afternoon, but came down 20 yards. Spent a good bit of time in here the last week and a half, and had a lot of encounters. Started with the recurve, and then had some mishaps with that, and Jared talked me into leaving that at home. So on Monday, I think I ditched the recurve, came out here in the afternoon, and only saw a little 6-point, and then had it this morning, and here we are.